Shalom. This week we don't read a parsha in the Torah or a Sedra in the Torah. This week we read about Pesach. And I'd like to tell a story that will help us understand a great idea about the plague of the frogs. After months of hearing of his friend Jonah's quote-unquote master, Noah finally agreed to attend a session of this miracle performer's lessons. Noah didn't really believe that Master Hoda was anything but a trickster. But if attending a session would get his friend to finally start talking about him, he'd attend one session. Entering a dark studio in the city's industrial section, Noah sat in a circle on the floor and watched as Master Hoba spun stories of ancient masters and their miraculous powers. When the trick started, Noah immediately recognized their illusionary traits, and with a skeptical mind was able to perceive that these miracles were nothing but simple illusions. In this week's Sedra, Hashem said to Moshe, "Say to Aaron, stretch forth your hand with your staff over the rivers, over the canals, and over the ponds, and bring up the frogs in the land of Egypt." And Aaron stretched forth his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. And Paro's illusionists did likewise with their illusions, and they brought up the frogs in the land of Egypt. Thereupon Paro summoned Moshe and Aaron and said, "Entreat God that he remove the frogs from me and my people, and I will let out the Jewish people so that they may offer sacrifices to God." In his commentary on these psukim, the Ibn Ezra wrote that when Paro's illusionists seemed to create frogs just as Moshe did, they could only do so with small amounts of water. When Paro recognized that there was a significant difference between his illusionists' creation of frogs and Moshe's creation of frogs, he brought Moshe and Aaron back to the palace to pray to God for the plague to end. Paro recognized that there's a difference between being able to create something in an open space and being able to create something in a controlled environment. Paro's advisors claimed the same powers as Moshe. They told Paro that Moshe's claims of plagues and threats of destruction weren't worth taking notice of. Paro bought into it until he recognized that his advisors were only replicating Moshe's actions and not manifesting their own abilities. Paro knew there was no supernatural phenomenon occurring when his advisors would recreate Moshe's frogs. He understood that it was only Moshe, through his God, that could truly perform these miracles. Just as Paro recognized the sham that was his own advisor's attempt at recreating Moshe's plagues, Noah recognized Master Hobo's tricks for what they really were. Noah realized that Master Hobo was preying on man's desire to see the supernatural around him so as to escape the responsibilities that come in the natural world. In the natural world, the one that we live in, cause and effect is a guiding principle. But once people place their hopes in miracles and believe scam artists, they absolve themselves of the responsibilities of real life. That's not the Torah way. And as a leader, Paro could ill afford to believe that his advisors' illusions, and knew that to stop the plagues, he needed Moshe's prayers overall. That's something that we have to realize as well. Have a happy Pesach, Chag Kasher v'Sameach.